I'm calling the meeting to order for the Mendocino Historic Review Board of April 5th, 2021 at 2:03 p.m. Staff, can you read the participating information for this virtual meeting?
Sure. The Mendocino Historical Review Board meetings are conducted virtually and not available for in-person public participation pursuant to State Executive Order N2920. Meetings are live streamed and available for viewing on the Mendocino County YouTube page at www.youtube.com/Mendocino County Video. In order to minimize the risk of exposure during this time of emergency, the public may participate digitally in meetings by sending comments to pbscommissions@mendocinocounty.org. PBS like Planning Building Services and commissions with an S on the end at mendocinocounty.org. Or orally via telecomment in lieu of personal attendance. All public comment will be made immediately available to the board, staff, and the general public as they are received and processed by staff and can be viewed as attachments on the meeting agenda. All requests for telecomment must have been received by 10 a.m. this morning.
Great. Can we please have roll call?
Certainly. Board Member Madrigal.
Here.
Board Member Saunders.
Here.
Board Member Kapler.
Present.
And Board Member Roth.
Present. Great. Okay, we are now going on to agenda item number 2A, election of review board chair and vice chair. If I remember correctly, I am the vice chair currently as acting chair since our board member chair, Deidre Lamb, had been turned off. Is that correct?
Actually, there was an election in February and you were elected chair, and
that's right.
Kapler was elected co-chair. The bylaws say that elections happen in April, and that's why it's on the agenda. If staff may suggest, one option for the review board to make would be to affirm that the February election stands for this April agenda item, or you could accept new nominations and have an election today. It's really up to the review board.
I'm open to whatever the other members feels appropriate.
I think we've done what we needed to do, and I don't see changing it at this point.
Yeah, I'd be happy to reaffirm the designations of February.
Great. So how do we proceed, Planetary?
I would suggest the chair query for some motion.
Okay, yes. We have a motion to affirm the vote from February for chair and vice chair.
I will propose that motion to affirm the election in February for chairman and vice chair.
I'll
Is there a second?
Yes.
Thank you.
So we have a motion
vote
by Sanders and a second by Madrigal. So I'll take a vote. Board Member Kapler.
Aye.
Board Member Roth.
Aye.
Board Member Saunders.
Aye.
And Board Member Madrigal.
Aye.
So the motion to affirm the vote in February for April passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. So congratulations, Holm. You're now vice chair.
Can I raise a question here? How long is this good for?
Until April next year.
Until April next year. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we have another vote.
Every April we have election of officers.
Okay. And I want to thank everyone for showing. This is great. We're 80% full. Mm-hmm. And we just need to take that last stride to make it 100%. Which Actually, I'll wait for my next spot. So for our agenda item number 3, has proper notice been established for this meeting?
Yes, it has. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I see we do not have any minutes to approve, but February and March will be completed before the May meeting.
Yes.
So look forward to those. Thank you. Correspondence, item number 5. Have we received any correspondence for items not on the posted agenda?
We have not received correspondence for items not on the agenda, but we have received correspondence for items that are on the agenda.
Which we will review at the time those items are being heard.
Right, and as far as I know, they're all posted also on the meeting webpage.
Great, thank you. Item number 6, report from chair. The only thing I have to report is, again, that last 20%. We're looking for someone in the community within the historic district. Love to have a 5th person on, makes the discussions more lively, broader, and it helps out when one of us or 2 of us can't make it. So if you have any interest at all, please put your name in. I believe it go in through PBS and then be forwarded to District 5 Supervisor Ted Williams for his approval. So please become active. We appreciate it. Okay, agenda item number 7, public expression. Do we have anyone who wanted to make public expression who called in before 10 this morning?
Jim, has anyone asked to speak under public expression?
I have not received any telecomments from this morning, so there was nothing submitted.
All right.
Mr. Am did submit a telecomment, but he is actually part of the first case, so I didn't consider that a telecomment.
Right, that's a request because the he's
right.
not the applicant, so he would be under public expression for that item.
Okay, and just for the public's edification, we do welcome participation in board meetings. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person, not more than 10 minutes for a proposed item on a subsequent agenda, so that everyone may be heard. Items of public expression are limited to matters under the jurisdiction on the board which are not on the posted agenda, and items which have not already been considered by the board. No action will be taken. Great platform. If you have something that you want to be brought up that's not on our agenda that you want to be heard at a future meeting, this is the place to do it. So engage. Which brings us to agenda item number 8A, our consent calendar. We have one consent case, which is MHRB application 20010001. And this has to do with a sign. So has there been any correspondence or telephone calls received related to matters on the consent calendar?
Yes, we have received written comment on the item on the consent calendar.
So this is a different way I've been consent calendar for other boards. So do we hear that item? Do we just waive it and see whether we want to make it, put it onto our regular calendar? What's the process?
Right, so this is on the consent calendar because we have, typically we put signs that meet the criteria onto the consent calendar for the review board to approve the entire consent calendar by motion. So the question is, public comments have been received on this matter. Does someone on the review board wish to pull this from the consent calendar and move it to the regular calendar?
So I guess I'd entertain a motion either to approve the consent calendar or request to pull it for a public hearing.
And since we have some new members to the review board, if it is pulled from the consent calendar, we immediately move to the regular calendar item. And this would be the first item for discussion on the regular calendar.
Okay, in that case, I'd like to make a motion to move it to the regular calendar.
Okay, I don't think, do we need a motion for that or just a request to pull it?
Or a request, whatever.
Right, so I think the chair hearing comments from the board members can make a decision on how they want to proceed with the agenda.
Okay, so if I have at least one member who wants to bring it forth to have a discussion. So let's move consent item 8A, we'll move it to the regular calendar, which will be in front of 9A. So that being done now, we will hear this item. So MHRB application 2021-0001 is Mendocino Historical Review Board request for a 4.9 square foot round sign with colors blue, gray, pink, and red, and copy reading, quote, "this and that," unquote. The sign will be located at 10550 Lansing Street at the intersection with Little Lake. This property is listed as a Category 1 historic resource, the Pete Anderson House. So you said that we do have, do we have any, I know we have correspondence from at least one individual.
Right. We
Go
have,
ahead.
if you'd like, staff could begin with going over public comments and then present the application to the board.
That would be great. Please proceed.
All right. So we've received public comment from former board member Kathleen Cameron. And she wrote a message last week, which was posted on the review board and distributed to the review board members. And some of her comments really were focused on signs. She wrote, traditionally signs in Mendocino identify the name of the business and what the business offers. Further details like telephone numbers and websites have been deemed inappropriate by past review boards because they add clutter to a sign and detract from the historic nature of the town. Adding a modern element such as a web address or using telephone number as the focal point of a sign as seen in another application you'll be considering later today, draws attention to the contemporary symbols and away from Mendocino's unique sense of the past. A Google search using the business name will effectively provide telephone numbers and website information for those who wish to find further business details. Signs don't need to mimic a bygone era, but they ought to be sensitive to its special character and to the identity of what makes Mendocino a historic district. So that's the comments that were received on this sign and the other sign that we'll discuss later on the agenda. So
Thank you.
if you're welcome. So this is Juliana Cherry, a planner with Mendocino County Planning and Building Services, and I'd like to begin staff's presentation for the this and that sign that's proposed to be located in front of the Pete Anderson building.
Yes, please.
So this building is one of several buildings on a large lot that fronts Lansing Street between Little Lake and Capella. The lot is the entire block, and on the south end is Anderson Alternatives with a small office behind that fronts Capella. And then on the north end is the Pete Anderson House, which has right now in the front two sign posts, one on the south side of the front entry and one on the north side of the front entry. The one when you're facing Pete Anderson to the north has southern exposure, which the review board previously approved. And the one to the south, the review board previously approved the Spread Eagle Tattoo business sign, which is no longer there. And what Elaine is proposing for her business is to put her this and that business sign in that location. When we considered southern exposure, the review board considered southern exposure at that time. There was discussion because the review board, the sign regulations encourage when more than one business uses a common entrance to a building, the ordinance encourages use of a directory sign. And over time, this particular property hasn't had a directory sign, and I think it's because businesses have brought their signs over like Southern Exposure did. They brought their sign from another location in town and put it in front. So a directory sign, that business owner would have had to purchase a brand new sign and put it up. So staff does encourage the review board to talk about, again, the appropriateness at this location for a directory sign rather than two signs on two sign posts. Otherwise, the conditions are rather standard Conditions 1 through 7 in the staff report includes condition 5 saying that the sign is only valid for as long as this business is conducted at this location. Condition 6 is about sign lighting, and condition 7 requires that the sign be made of wood material and painted blue, gray, pink, and red. I would like to note that the spread eagle sign is no longer there, and if the review board wanted to, they could add a condition saying that the permit issued for the spread eagle sign is void. That way we don't have two signs approved at the same spot. That might be one way of cleaning up the issue about the directory sign, but I'll leave it to the review board to make that decision. I am available and happy to answer questions. I hear from the applicant that they are watching via YouTube and are not planning on participating in discussion. The property owner, who is not the applicant, though I understand, does want to speak under public expression.
Thank you, Planner Cherry. Would that be Scott Spears that we have online?
No, Scott Spears is the IT person.
Oh, thank you, Scott. Okay, thank you for that presentation. You said the applicant is not here well, actually we do have. So who do we have online?
We have, for when we get to the public expression portion, we have Ishvi Alm or Sarah Greenlee on the line wishing to speak under public expression on this matter.
Okay, we have a staff presentation been done. We don't necessarily have an applicant presentation, so let's open the public hearing and invite those callers to make their presentation. So when you are called to speak, please state your name for the record. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. Speakers are asked to please address their comments to myself, the meeting chair, and to refrain from using profanity or engaging in conversation with members of the audience or staff. And our staff, Planner Cherry, will announce when you have 30 seconds remaining. So please come forward. You're muted.
They're not in the waiting room.
They're not. So
No, all I have is Deborah and Susan.
Right. So
Okay.
it looks like the applicant is not wanting to speak, and that the property owner who is going to speak under public expression is not participating. But we could take a 3-minute pause to allow those people to connect in if they so choose.
Let's do that. And I will, I've got my special device for timing, and I will put it on for 3 minutes. So why don't we take a 3-minute break and we'll wait for those who want to call in to call in.
Pardon, would it be appropriate for us to have our questions and conversation while that's happening?
Let's wait for, I'd rather have the public call in first, and then we can close the public expression and then have our dialogue between ourselves.
Okay.
Thank you. I see Juliana's on the phone. So hang tight, we got about 2.5 minutes. Great time for a water break.
next to me that belongs to the beauty salon, which is Southern Exposure. Her phone number is on there. I've noticed this morning that the sign down the street that just got put up for a wellness, that is Dr. June, that's a chiropractor. Her phone number is on there. I do not have a web page.
Lost you.
Blaine?
Yeah, hello, this is Ishvi trying to call in.
Do we cross lines?
Next to me that belongs to the beauty salon.
Say that again.
Elaine, are you still there or just Ishvi?
I don't know, I'm here.
So Ishvi, we hear you. Jim, did we lose Elaine when we brought Ishvi on? Jim, you're muted.
We're using the same number to call in at the same time, so it's one's blocking out the other.
Technology. Well, okay. We had Elaine on. I think we got the gist of it. I think she's lobbying for her phone number to be on the sign and gave us a brief overview of her business. Are we okay with what was brought to us, or do we need more information from Elaine? Okay. Since we have Ishvi on, why don't we take from Ishvi, and then if Elaine wants to call back and add additional, we can deal with that. So Ishvi, go ahead.
Okay, I will try to speak. I can't hear what anybody's saying while I'm talking, but I'll do the best I can. I just want to encourage you to approve the sign between the posts there. It's been like that a long time. There's been a series of businesses here where they basically use those two sign posts, and there's never been a directory out front of this building to my knowledge. And there's only the two businesses there in the front. And it would place an undue burden on Sally if you required us to go to a directory, because she would then have to get rid of her sign and get a new sign. So that's all I really wanted to add.
Okay. Thank you so much for your input. I appreciate it. I know we have different protocols now with technology and everything, but this is typically where we bring it back to the board. And I guess if we do get Elaine back, we can decide whether we want to entertain more information, but I think we got the full gist of it. So that being said, any of the board members have any comments or questions about the application?
Hey, still on the thing.
I can kick it off. Yeah, I basically agree with Kathleen Cameron's comments concerning the use of telephone numbers and web addresses on signs. I do not believe that they are appropriate in the historic district. I haven't done a survey, so I don't know how often telephone numbers appear on signs. I don't think it's very often. It's very rare, I think, if that has happened in the past. As far as the question of directory signs, I can live without that. We have two signs there now. We have the frames for the second sign in place. So I don't think it would be a problem to approve a sign for that empty frame that we have now in front of this building. So I could agree to the proposed sign for this and that minus the telephone number.
Thank you, Member Kapler. Holly or Alan?
I'm kind of where Mr. Kapler is, to be quite honest. I did a sort of Google walk around this morning, and I've looked around, and I don't think there are many signs with web addresses and phone numbers on. I may, like him, I haven't done a numerical survey, but I think I'm where home is. I think he covered it for me.
Okay. Board Member Madrigal.
So I just want to clarify that there is no web address suggested on the sign as written. There is a phone number on the mock-up. And as the applicant just mentioned, there are phone numbers on signs nearby. I personally don't object to the phone number aspect. I can see that a web address is certainly dating. Yeah, so I tend to be in the minority as far as I think not having an issue with the sign as proposed. But of course, I'll be willing to go with the majority on this one if that's the decision of the group.
That's why it's helpful to have 5 where you can't have a 2-2 vote.
You're not in the minority yet because Ian has.
That's true.
So my initial thought with it, my concern was the MDO, but in doing a little bit of research, I found that MDO actually, it's not MDX. MDO it uses layers of C and B grade wood veneers that are layered perpendicularly to each other to provide stability. And in between each veneer, a layer of waterproof resin is applied. And then everything's fused together with heat and pressure. The overlay coatings are made from waterproof resin impregnated fiber, making MDO 100% waterproof. So it is advisable for use as outdoor material as well as signs specifically. So that was my initial concern, and that's been allied, but it's alleviated with a little bit of research. With regard to the phone number, I just actually did Google search of this and that, Mendocino, California, and nothing came up. And it's probably because it's a new business, and it will probably end up getting some web presence at some point, even without a web page. I understand this historical context, and I don't really object to having a phone number on it because trying to be a little bit of pro-business, I don't think it clutters it that much. But it's definitely informational. That's what a sign's supposed to be. It's supposed to be informational, telling you what business is where. And I guess the alternative would be for Elaine to put a rack card outside and have people pick up a piece of paper. Or you could just take your phone and you could snap a picture of the sign. So I'm kind of with Holly, and I know it's going to cause a rift, but I don't mind approving the sign as is with the phone number on it.
Could I
Go ahead.
weigh
Please.
in as a somewhat, attempting to persuade my fellow board members? Phone numbers are historical as far as since the phones have been around, and this wouldn't be a precedent. So what I wonder is that if I appreciate the public comment on the concern about cluttering signs, but the fact is since there already are existing signs in the village with phone numbers on them, I wonder about why we would, decide on this one not to do it. So I don't know if that would sway anyone's opinion.
Alan, Paul?
I'm thinking. You see the wheels turning. I'm just thinking about how useful the phone number is, really. I mean, when the business is closed, I guess you then have a way of contacting them if they don't have a website as such, which is presumably the purpose for doing it. Otherwise, you can just walk in the door. I mean, you're outside the door looking at the sign. You can walk in. So, I don't know. I just don't know that it adds that much extra information that you can't get by other means. That's all. So, and I agree with the sort of comment about clutter. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm being wishy-washy here, I guess.
If I can jump in,
Please.
I did a little photo survey once of the signs in Mendocino. And to me, the signs in Mendocino are works of art. And I think the telephone number here clearly detracts from the attractiveness of the sign. And I don't believe that it adds a great deal of information that's necessary for this business to function. So I really do believe that I think it's a bad idea for us to agree to this. We've got another item on the agenda where we've got another sign that looks pretty much like a business card to me. That's got not only telephone numbers, but website addresses on it. I think, I just don't think it fits in with the artistic look of Mendocino, the historical look of Mendocino. I think it detracts from the attractiveness of the sign and the business. So I really feel strongly that we ought to not agree in the future to have signs that have telephone numbers or web addresses on them.
Any Riri thoughts?
No, I'm still with home at this point. I think because I mean, we missed some of Elaine's comments, but I'm not sure what it adds to her customer base. I guess that's so. You know, how many people are going to call in from the phone number versus how many people walk through the door? If the sign were somewhere else. And you couldn't go into the business when it was open, I might feel differently, but it's out there in front of the business. So I'm still at home, really.
I guess one thought is that the off hours is understandable, but if for business is also massage, then clearly the doors can be closed during regular business hours when that activity is going on. But I could go either way. I totally get the concept of sort of art for art's sake, but it also has to be messaging. If we do a 2-2, then that means that we don't approve the application, which I think would be just the wrong thing to do. So I'd be willing to yield to remove the phone number. Unless Holly has something fully striking that changes my mind.
I feel similarly that by voting, well, someone will have to put forward a motion with the phone number removed. And that by voting against it, I don't know, it's, yeah,
so can I have this?
That motion.
Can I have this? If you wanted to put forth a motion that would include the phone number, the sign is proposed, you're welcome to do that. If it dies for lack of a second, then we have the other option, and that way you can stand your ground. If that's what you like, that's fine.
Or by the way, are we all agreed on the fact that there should be a second sign there rather than a directory?
I'm not wed to the directory for something this small.
Yeah.
And frankly, the burden of having them produce additional signage that they don't have, I don't need to do that.
Yeah, no, I'm there with that too. I think that if it was 5 or 6 businesses, it would be different. But I think I don't think it's a directory.
And I'm fine with someone else. I don't need to make a motion for the phone number without, I can see that there's not support for that.
Okay, so do we have a motion? Oh, Planner Cherry?
Staff also would be seeking clarification regarding the previous sign.
Yes.
That it hung where this and that was. How does the review board want to handle that?
So I think part of what Planner Cherry is saying is that we, as a condition 8, would be to revoke the spread eagle permit that was approved. So we remove that from the docket, so that's not a contradicting aspect.
Basically, we don't want to have 2 signs approved for the same location.
So do we have a motion for an approval of the sign with an 8th what do we call that? Condition that removes the permit for spread eagle.
Right. So I'll make a combined motion that we approve a sign for this and that, minus as requested, minus the telephone number, and that we also add an additional condition that removes the permit for the spread eagle sign that existed at this location before.
Thank you, Member Kepler. Do we have a second?
I will second that.
Thank you, Member Sanders. Staff, roll call.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the sign without the phone number and to add a condition 8 having the effect of revoking the previously issued permit for spread eagle tattoo.
Right.
And for a roll vote, Board Member Madrigal.
Aye.
Board Member Roth.
Aye.
Board Member Saunders.
Aye.
And Board Member Kepler.
Aye.
So the sign is approved unanimously with the additional condition. Thank you.
Thank you and good luck with this and that. That brings us to agenda item number 9A, our regular calendar. MHRB application 2021-0003, Look in Kavanaugh. This application is Mendocino Historic Review Board permit request to demolish existing structures and construct a single-family residence, water tower, decks, shed, and ancillary structures. Proposed residence will be located at 45270 Albion Street, and the site is listed as a Category 2A historic resource. Do we have any correspondence or telephone calls we received related to this item?
We have received correspondence and public comment on this.
And would you like to review that for us?
Sure. Let me get to that. We've received 3 comments. One comment came in from Kathleen Cameron. She writes, the existing house on this property is referred to as a cabin. Replacing it with a 2-story structure is not in keeping with the property's historic connection. A single-story residence would be more in harmony with the immediate neighborhood. The size of the buildings and their relationship to each other, as well as the open areas surrounding them, are important factors to consider. Historically, water towers in Mendocino were freestanding structures. Sometimes they were attached to a barn or a shed, but not to the main house. Separating the tower from the house would reduce the bulk of the structure and be more in keeping with the other water tower properties in town. Thank you for your volunteer service, Kathleen Cameron, past MHRB member. Then we've received the second comment says it's from Jack and Nancy Connell. They own the home at 45271 Ukiah Street. We have reviewed the proposal for the Look Kavanaugh Home water tower plans. We have no objections to the proposed project. We are happy to see the vast improvement to the property directly behind us, Jack and Nancy Connell. And the final comments, past review board member Deirdre Lamb provided comments on this project. This letter is in support of the application for 45270 Albion Street in Mendocino. The design of the new home and water tower for John Kavanaugh and Julie Look are well designed and very attractive. The design of the residence fits in well with the character of the town, and the water tower is a good design. Architect Deborah Lennox helped bring the applicant's vision into a coherent and lovely design for this property. Although the water tower is connected to the residence, there are a number in town that are connected, and I feel overall the structures carry the flavor and essence of good design in town of Mendocino. Thank you, Deirdre Lamb. So those are the 3 public comments that were received.
Can you present the project to us, please?
Yes, thank you. Planner Juliana Cherry, delighted to present this proposed project to the review board. They want to demolish the existing structures and clear the property. That's the first part of their application. And then the applicants want to construct a single-family residence, water tower, deck, shed, and ancillary structures. I do understand that the applicant's agent, Deborah Lennox, has some site plans that she wants to share with you, so I will not include that with my portion of the presentation. The staff report does go over a series of project aspects that would be otherwise exempt from the review board. For example, sheds that are less than 10 feet tall, they're proposing a 13-foot tall shed, so that would not be exempt. But if it were shorter, it would be. The applicant proposes a 32 square foot unpainted wood pump shed that does satisfy a requirement for exemption. And then the mudroom deck and wood decks without railings could satisfy the exemption criteria. Fences that are less than 6 feet in height are exempt from the review board. Outdoor lighting, if it's a certain type of configuration where the lighting is shielded, which is what is proposed, that kind of lighting also potentially is exempt from review board. And then water storage tanks located behind buildings substantially below grade and effectively screened. This particular exemption O on page 2 of the staff report was newly added to the code in 2017 when we did a wholesale update to the town of Mendocino zoning code and general plan. The staff report does go over development criteria, which the project does meet, things like setbacks, height requirements. And then on page 4 and 5 of the staff report, staff is recommending conditions of approval. The exterior materials that the applicant is proposing on condition 8 is a clear finished wood with painted window frames. And they do want to choose a color from the historic collection for the painted window frames, which would be a Weston flax or something similar. Then there are 2 water storage tanks on the property. One is on the tower and one is behind the house. And in discussing with the Deborah Lennox, the applicant's agent, both of those would be clad with wood on the exterior. And then the applicant is proposing a trash enclosure and propane tank, and those would be screened behind a wood fence. I'd also like to note that there's an exemption that basically, not an exemption, but the code says that when there's mechanical equipment that's visible within the district, that is subject to review board approval. Staff interprets that to help property owners who want to, say, swap out their electrical panel. We ask that they put those in a cabinet so that they're not visible. And since they're not visible, they wouldn't be subject to an MHRB permit. So our expectation would be that this home, when it's built, the electrical panels would likely be behind a fence or within a cabinet so that they're not visible within the district. They are proposing some walkways, and they can be a brick, flag, stone, board, or grass or gravel. They're also proposing a driveway just to the west of the residence. And because they are proposing a driveway, they may need to obtain an encroachment permit from the Department of Transportation. And I understand that the applicant's agent has been talking with the Department of Transportation about the encroachment. Generally, when other departments do have things like an encroachment permit, if there are some minor modifications to the project as a result of that encroachment permit, staff would bring that back to the board and ask the board whether or not that aspect, that design change, the board would have considered part of the original permit rather than asking the applicant to amend their permit. This concludes staff's presentation, but we are available if you have questions, and thank you.
Great, thank you. Do we have Deborah Lennox, agent architect, on the line?
Yes, we do.
Can we bring her up so that we can have her present the application, please? On behalf of the applicant. Thank you, Deborah. Are you there? You're on mute.
Unmute, start video. Oh, I'm really here. Hi, yes. Can everyone hear me? Deborah Lennox.
Yes, we can. Thank you so much. Please
great.
present the
This is an
application.
improvement over the coastal permit hearing. Thank you very much.
Isn't it?
Thank you, board members, for considering this project. I consider myself very lucky to have been chosen by John Kavanaugh and Julie Look, my clients, to help them with their vision for this property. I have them on my cell phone, on speakerphone, so if you have any questions for them, we can talk to them through my connection. And the first thing that John and Julie said was how much they've been coming up to Mendocino, but how much they love the historical nature of the town. And they wanted to keep using the flavor of the architectural elements and create a project that addressed their needs, as well as making something that was, an enhancement to this end of Albion Street. I'm particular to this west end of Albion Street. I used to live here, and it's just a lovely neighborhood. And I think that this project has really, this property has needed someone to have a vision that does fit in with the town. And I think that John and Julie have that vision. We didn't get a walkthrough, so I have available some photos if you want to see what it looks like now. It's just been deteriorating over the years. The previous property owner put up a big fence along the setback from the corridor preservation setback, so you can't really see what's behind there, but it hasn't changed except for deterioration. And probably more raccoons have moved in than before because it's just crazy back there. But John and Julie, right off the bat, came in and cleaned it up and had Crescent Tarbell's team come in. And I said, don't touch anything construction, but just get the junk out of here. So this site has a lot of history of a working class family that owned this property, the Faro residence. I looked everywhere for a reference to a cabin, and I didn't see one. It was called a multi-component. To me, I called it a compound of working class additions to the original structure, which we tried to see if there was anything salvageable, but it is just deteriorated beyond being able to salvage even the components. One of the suggestions that I made, and John and Julie were very enthusiastic, is let's respect the setbacks. Because the existing compound was tight up to that back property line and tight to the east property line, and you couldn't even walk back there, and it really was a fire hazard. So we decided we're keeping the 6-foot setback on the east and the west, and we're keeping the 10-foot setback on the north. And then 6-foot setback, east and west, and 10 foot on the north. And then there's a 20-foot corridor preservation setback from Albion Street plus another 10 feet. And that will bring you about right to where that current fence is. And then we're set back from that we're back 18 feet from the property line, which is just about where the front corner of that garage is where the deck begins and the stairs up. And I'm assuming that the review board members have had a chance to go through the packet and have looked over all of the drawings. The most useful one to compare is, of course, the cover sheet showing the lot coverage from the previous, the existing structures. And then comparing it to our proposal showing the setbacks. And one of the other things that we've done is we've tightened things up. And we don't sprawl over that back part anymore. Everything is much cleaner and easier to access. So I have photos of the existing conditions if you want to see them. I think I can share my screen, and I also have some colors and if anyone wants to see inspiration, there are other buildings on Albion Street that are the same configuration. This is actually a story and a half. Our plate height on the second floor is only 4'9". So it's kind of more like an attic, a glorified attic for that second floor. And we did connect it. One of the things I really like about this project is we're using one staircase in the house, and then you can go across and enter the second floor of the tower. So we're not building a whole bunch of stairs, which take up lot coverage. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, and I believe I'm allowed to continue to go back and forth as the agent, but I'm not sure. So let me know what you need.
So if you would, for the record, I was able to walk the site with both Deborah and the applicants, and it's long overdue. The Maxwells, unfortunately, the prior owners, were not able to succeed in their endeavors, but I totally welcome this new application. Looks exciting. Can you take us through pictures of the existing, please?
Sure. Yeah, and I had one other thing to add was when I did send contacts out to various board members if they wanted to walk through when John and Julie were here. We met with Ian and Karen McGrath from the Kelly House and had a big conversation with her about the historical nature of this lot and who used it and what we could do, what John and Julie could do to support the cultural history, because their families are both kind of tied a little bit to Mendocino. There's a Kavanaugh house in town, and I believe Julie Look, there was some connection to some of the Chinese buildings that had burned on Main Street. So they're very interested in participating in the history of Mendocino, and offered if Karen was saying that we could at the very least get all the photographic evidence of what was there, the condition it's in right now, and they could put them in the Kelly House archives. So let's see, share screen. Okay. So you can see, can everyone see my plot plans?
Yes.
Yes. Thank
Okay,
you.
so I'm gonna jump over to the house. Okay, so this is the original structure. I guess Kathleen was calling this a cabin, and it is a single story wooden structure. If you read through the historical report, it just was not built to the high quality of carpentry that many of the other buildings in town were built. And then over the years, as they tried to waterproof it, they just added layers of tar paper and tin. And so this is an earlier photograph that actually shows that little front entryway, but then the next one shows that it over time, that little entryway has fallen in and fallen off. So that's what it looks like pretty much right now. That's the original structure with the siding and the tar paper on the roof. You can't see from the street, but that roof has collapsed. In fact, there's a collapsed roof here. This part is what they call the laundry room addition. So the green is the main structure. And then there's a long series of rooms that are connected running to the east. And they think historically they started with the building to the first room to the east, which has a bathroom in it and a laundry room. And then it continues, and there's a couple of rooms that were either bedrooms or wood sheds, and people would use as bedrooms. And that's looking in that direction. I believe this one might be the shed room. And then here's a room that was a bedroom. None of them are safe to walk in. They're all completely rotten floors. And there's a lot of patches of concrete that would give you the illusion that it's got a foundation, but really it's nothing is as it should be. This little building here is the one you can see from the street, that there's the existing well, and we're going to keep that well. We're not asking for any more hydrology or anything. So there's an existing well right here, and it was a pump house for the well. The well, they called it the well house. So then they built a kitchen on the back of this well house, and over the top of the little roof of the kitchen and the well, they put a bedroom, and then they added a little balcony. So there's a set of stairs up to the bedroom, and then there's on the other side, there's a set of stairs up to this balcony. And I haven't been up there. Very brave people have gone up there, but everything is completely falling apart. And then we had some shots of the interior when John and Julie were first looking at the property. So you can see the condition of the floors with the gaps, and then the walls aren't plumb. This is the collapsed roof. This is the, I think this is the back portion that was added in the 1800s to the original structure in the front. And according to the historical report, vagrants were trying to get into the house, and they came through the roof. And so this is what they've got now. And then this is looking down that connected series of rooms. I believe the bathroom part is right here. And then there's some steps, some concrete steps up. And then once you get up those steps, this is probably the only bedroom that was of any significant size. And as you can see, the beam is sagging, and maybe we could salvage part of some of these redwood beams, but the decking is soggy and it's all completely rotten. So that's all of the photos I have to show you. And if there's any other questions, I've got, I'll show you one more photo, which is probably this one. Yeah, so these are photos that were submitted with the previous application, and maybe Ian remembers. So you can see there's the deterioration since we've taken pictures. It's just been an ongoing problem. And this one west side of the tower was the image that I was really wanting to show you. And so you can it's not really a tower. It was built, the water portion is here. Then this is that little kitchen they built in the back. Then this is the bedroom on the top. And then this is the little balcony. So people in town have grown up, and when they used to go here as children, this would be a little playhouse. But I haven't heard of it as a water tower or anything of, definitely not any architectural significance. So we decided to start from scratch.
Deborah, can you make that picture any bigger? That water tower one?
I was afraid you were going to ask that.
Okay,
I'm really not very good at PDFs for some reason. I think I have to upgrade. I don't see a place to blow it up.
Okay, sorry, I can see it.
Sorry, yeah.
I can see it. You're good.
Deborah, when was the last time that anybody actually lived in this house or this property?
Well, I lived for 10 years across the street a while ago, and there was a or here actually it's on the front of the historical report. So there was a trailer here. Yeah. That people would come and stay in, I think. And I think they were abalone divers, and they would just come up to go fishing. I think that's part of what the use of this property was, for people to come over from Ukiah. But I don't really know much about the family. The family's an old family, and I have never seen anyone living there, but I have seen people staying in this little trailer.
Okay.
I think it was probably the 70s when the last person was living there, but I could be wrong.
That'd be about 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before my time.
A little bit of perspective. Thank you, Deborah. Really appreciate that.
Okay, should I stop the screen share now?
Yeah, if you can put it back, that'd be great.
May I ask through the chair if you'd like Deborah to go over the proposed architectural plan so you can see the exterior elevation of the new structure?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay. Happy to.
You can share your screen again.
Okay. Okay, so remembering north, so Albion Street is down on the south side. So we'll go to the elevations. So the south elevation here is from Albion Street. This is the stairs up to the entryway. And then the living room is in the front, and these windows are modeled. Actually, they're modeled after I think it's the Heiser house. A lot of these windows in town have that same configuration, the 2/2. Then we have the, let's see, where am I? go upstairs. And so again, this is the 4'9" plate height. So you can see the 6'8" top of the window. So it goes down and kind of feels like an attic there. And then these, Deirdre was a little bit, was a little confused by this extra roof. You wouldn't really see this because you're down on the street and you're looking up, but these are the dormer. So if we look over on the east elevation, this is the dormer here, the dormer roof. So we could have a doorway to have the 6'8" height outside. Here's the lower plate height. And then to get out the door, we would need a dormer. And just to help the proportions, we included the dormer over the where the stairs come up. So inside the stairs come up here and go like that. And so then this window brings light into the staircase. And this portion, this view of the east elevation is cut here in between the water tower and the building. So this is the cut through the little walkway from the upstairs across and into the room on the top of the tower. And below is enclosed, which is this portion here. And it's all, everything is set back and designed with shadow lines. And I even did some studies with shadows to break up the volumes. So this will be in shadow here, and it's set back quite a bit from the front elevation. So this portion, this volume of the building will read as its own volume. Then that's stepped back. And then the water tower, which is on the next, the water tower, well, it doesn't really show it. It's, you can see it here. The water tower is like right here. So it's also set quite a bit back, and that's misleading on the south elevation because it doesn't show how they progressively step back. Then on the, so then on the first floor, you have the living room, the stairs, and the master bedroom. And the master bedroom has French doors out to the back little, I call it the secret garden in the back. So that this portion is the part that's going to get some east light in the morning. The north elevation is really not going to be terribly visible. Right at about 30 inches high across here is the retaining wall in the back. And then there's a lot of greenery on a fence from the Connells house. So this isn't going to be terribly visible to anyone but the Connells. And then on the west elevation, which is along it's along where I have the cars parked. It's pretty close to the west property line, which is another heavily vegetated fence. And so no one's going to be able to, you're not going to get this view, but what we do is we're going to be parking in here and coming in. And this is a little mud room in the back, which we wanted to have covered, in the kitchen. And then there's the living room, the dining room. And then the upstairs portion, this is an office or art room probably. And then this window is in a bathtub. So it's going to have kind of a artsy, charming little smaller scale window over the bathtub. And then the water tower itself, so if we're looking the other, we're coming in to that covered area, and here's a doorway into the, there's a bedroom on the downstairs. And then when we come up, let's see, here we go. We have a studio space. So Juliana says, I don't have to share this, but I'm going to. So you can see the living room, kitchen, dining room. Here's the little connector, and there's a place to sit and read a book and look out. And there's a lot of romantic touches to this house, which makes me like it even more. So this is that downstairs bedroom. Then you go up the stairs here, and then you come into the family room, and there's the bathroom, the bathtub, and then there's another attic-y. These two spaces are kind of attic-y, but you can come out and go into this studio on the second floor of the tower. And there's also a ladder from this landing up to the roof of the water tower. And that's, I don't know what that is.
My only question is, why didn't we have the windmill?
Pardon me? No
why
windmill?
Why don't we have a windmill on top?
Oh, well, you know.
I'm just messing with you.
I would like a windmill. I just didn't want to push my luck. So we were going to start one step at a time.
There we go.
Are
That's
there
great.
Does anyone want me to review any of the plans before I stop with the screen share?
Yeah, I have a question about the previous screen, the one that shows the different elevations. Yeah, this one. There are, in the west and in the east, there are two large windows with a lot of small panes, and they're a little different from what we usually see in Mendocino. I wonder if you might talk about that.
Yeah, well, these are the artistic touches that we're trying to bring forward, because when you look at the south elevation, this is all, all of this is very referential to the historical vocabulary of the windows. But then when we get to this back portion here, which is going to be, I think if you're on the street level, you're down about there and you're looking up, I sincerely doubt, and we could double check whether you'd see these windows, but what they're meant to be is something that could possibly have some stained glass hanging on the inside to bring in some light and color into the space. But mostly they're to bring light into that back portion of the building, because these smaller windows aren't going to get back into that staircase. And then this one above the door from the mudroom, this is a bathtub with a leaded glass or stained glass insert. So it's part of that's going to be more obscured glass, because we don't want to have people looking in here. So this one would be more like, she sent me a picture that I don't have to share with you, but they're small enough that it breaks it up so you can't look into the bathroom. That's kind of the point of this one here. And the other thing about this one is because of there's a giant tree here, and then there's a fence with a lot of greenery on it, and then there's another lot between this house and the street. So you're not going to see this from the street either. There's too much growth and screening in between the west elevation and the street.
So similarly, I know the east elevation has that other water tower that's over there with Winnie, who's there to take care of the grounds. I know that's pretty tight. I don't know that you can have much visibility to it. I remember that on the west side, there was a fence with some vegetation, but I'm trying to remember what the structure was to the west of it.
So, so I went up into Jade's Tower, with Winnie and Andy, to take a look and see, we wanted to not mess with their view for their business. And the main view of that tower is actually looking directly to the south, the way the staircase comes up where where the window is on their west side. And so it's kind of, you wouldn't be sitting in the top of that tower looking down into this quadrant of the property, and it's more visible in the front portion of the property, which is why we here, let me get to that, which is actually they're more concerned about their bedroom window is about here, and they're looking out this way. So we were trying to keep this quadrant free so that they could see through here. But part of the reason we put all of these little storage areas along this fence is because it's such a dense vegetated fence. And then there's a really big, I think it might be a cypress tree here. It's just a huge tree here. And when you make the turn from Albion onto Woodward, there's that, you'll see there's so much hedge that you have to creep around the corner because it's just so dense. And that property next door has a lot of landscaping to it.
And is there a structure on the property to the west of that?
Let me see if I have a picture of it. No. Yeah, there's no, I don't have a picture of it.
You have a picture of the previous property that shows
Oh, yeah, thank
his
you.
house to the west. I mean, it's historic. I mean, you can see that they're.
Oh, this is it here. So also, this one was the original inspiration for John and Julie. So this is the house next door here. So they were looking at, this is the structure next door. And I think this is the tree. And then this is the nature of the fence, but it's even more grown up than that now. So here, we'll go to the historical report with no, it's this one. Yeah, garage house. Oh, I wish I could get into there a little bigger.
But can you show the first photo on the historical report? I just wanted to call out that you can see that.
Okay, yes, thank you. Here.
That their tower is farther back.
Yeah, here's the cypress tree. And I think this is Crown Hall here. But then there's all of this is a hedge pretty much between the Kavanaugh Look property and the next property, which is another narrow property with a lot of landscaping on it. I'm going to call it landscaping. It's freeform landscaping.
Yeah.
It's the English style instead of the French style.
There we go.
Overgrowth.
Yeah, a little overgrown.
Deborah, are you keeping the stone wall that's just off of Albion Street?
Yes. In fact, you see this little fence, it's pretty much fallen down and they want to restore it. So they want to keep this, they really like the romantic redwood, small scale fencing around town. And so they want to keep that same flavor. So all of the fencing we've called out is redwood or cedar. It's all wood.
And the siding is going to be wood siding?
The siding is wood, yes. All the siding is wood and it's natural stain. So it's going to be wood with that yellow just for the window frame. So the trim is wood, the siding is wood, and the window frames are yellow. And that was when I was looking here at inspiration. This is the color that they're taught. This is the look they're going for.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then this one they just sent me. These are and then they want to do cedar or not cedar. Well, I guess cedar. They want to do wood shingles as well. And I did speak with Dakota at Redwood Roofers. They did this roof, and there is a wildland urban interface cedar shingle that is compliant. So I think we'll be able to do the wood shingle even though we're in the WUI area.
And they'll be able to insure that?
I didn't ask them that.
I mean, as far as fire departments aren't, anyway, going back to the windows that Holm mentioned, those also sort of look like on some of the glassed-in porches. That seems like a similar size as some of the glassed-in porch.
Oh, around town?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any examples, but the multi-frame mullions, I'm trying to think of where I've seen them, and I just can't come up with off the top of my head, but I could find out. I think that the difference is that this is a banking of, there's technically 3 windows here because I want to be able to have one of these portions be operable. So I didn't really have it broken out, but it's not going to be one big multi-paned piece of glass. It's going to be broken into 3.
Well, the inspiration shot does sort of show a multi-window with that pink color.
Yeah, that one. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you turn this on its side, it's about the right, and then stack 3 of them up, it's about what we're looking for. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4 over 3, and we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So there's 1, 2, 3. There's 2, 1, 2. Oh, there's this one. So this is 2, one more row, and you'd have 3 of those inspiration windows stacked up, basically. And that would be a nice way to have it operable, would be to have one of them be an awning. Are there any other questions?
Great. Thank you so much, Deborah. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay. Brings us to our next part of this wonderful project. Public hearing is declared open. Do we have any telecommenters that have signified that they want to speak on this?
I have received no telecomments regarding this project.
You said you received none? Oh, you muted again.
I've received no telecomments.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're going to pull it back to the board. So go ahead, lash out with your comments.
It's good to see the place cleaned up. I think that's the first comment. I mean, that's going to be a real. The Kelly House is, I hope, going to keep. Somebody did a write-up I read as we went through this stuff about exactly how it got to where it was from a historical point of view. I mean, it may be a mess of a building, but the history is quite interesting about the people that went through it and how they built it and how they put it together and so on. So I'm kind of assuming there's not just photographs of the existing site, but somewhere in the Kelly House, I would like to see them store the written history as well. That's one comment, because I thought that was very interesting in terms of what's going on in the town. So that was one comment. The other thing I was interested in, I think some of the neighbors have supported this, but there was a comment about it being a two-story building versus a one-story building. Is there any, I was trying to figure out, is there any of those decks looking into anybody else's backyard or house that is going to be a problem? I couldn't quite figure that out from the plan. Maybe we can ask Deborah to comment on that.
Yes, of course. So the decks all look at Albion Street. They're right on Albion Street, except for, and the water tower. The water tower is the one place where you could go up and you could look around, but mostly they want to be able to look out at the ocean. So at this point, I don't think we were trying to be respectful of not having, each other, of us getting privacy and the neighbors also having privacy. So that none of the main deck areas overlook another place. The one place where you can come out would be off of the master bedroom down at grade level. And that area too, once we clean those buildings out, that's going to have fencing and greenery as well. The Connell House, the immediate north, has a lot of greenery on that edge of their property on the south side. So so that's screened also.
Yeah. And I had the same sort of comments as about the windows, which you've answered. So that was my main thought. Those three things.
Great. Who else?
Oh, as far as I'm concerned, number one, I've been through this property several times in the past as we've considered proposals for what to do with this, and I've rarely been any place that is as much of a disaster as this location is, an eyesore, really an eyesore on Mendocino. And so I'm extremely pleased with the plans we've seen, and I do hope that they come to fruition. I think one of the real concerns with the existing structures is that they're really a fire trap. And I think one of the things that I'm pleased about is that the new plans meet all of the setback and height limitations that the county has imposed. And I think a lot of the neighbors were concerned about the fact that in the past, the structures were right on the property line. And if anything, if there was ever a fire, that whole neighborhood would go up in flames. So I think that's just tremendous in terms of the proposed changes that are being made. I don't really share Kathleen Cameron's concerns about the height of the house or the connection with the water tower. I know that there are some other water towers that are connected to houses. I, in fact, lived in one for about a year when I first came to Mendocino. So I'm very familiar with that structure, that kind of a structure. So I really have no problems with the demolition of what is really a disaster at this point. And certainly I think the proposed plans are just such a wonderful improvement and will be such an asset to the community. So I'm very happy with what I've seen.
Thank you, Member Kepler. Member Madrigal, your thoughts?
Yeah, I would pretty much echo what others have said. I've peered over this fence, I haven't toured the physical property, but it looks like quite a warren in there. And so obviously the lot usage is much better as far as centralizing the buildings and not having this, add-ons all over the place. Yeah, and I think that the design is excellent. And I want to thank the applicants for working with the neighbors. I mean, in a town as small as ours, it's so important to make sure that you're not willy-nilly blocking someone out or causing future problems. I do think it's important to note that vegetation changes. So even though there's a huge cypress tree there now, that may not exist in the future, but with storms and everything. But I think that even if something was to change in that vegetation to the west, it's still, will still be a lovely structure even from that side. So I am in support, and to the extent that if a motion is looked for, I'd be willing to make one.
Great.
Thank you, Board Member Madrigal. My short tenure, I've been around the village quite a bit and enjoyed the access that we have had. Along with home, I also saw this under the Maxwell proposal, which I'm glad we've gone past and gotten through. This is a solid application in my eyes. I think Deborah Lennox has done an exquisite job of harmonizing the different elements and design within the structure. I think it's going to be beautiful. My only two requests. One is that we scrape that site as quick as we can, especially with fire season coming on. And then, as Alan Saunders said, if there's anything when you go through and the demo phase of this, if we find anything that is historically of interest, maybe we can get Karen from the Kelly House Museum to hang around a bit and be present when you do some of the demo. If there's some artifact that pops up, that'd be great for the story to keep it going. But again, my second was, why don't we have a windmill on top of this? All the water towers used to have windmills before we had power, and that was how we drew the water up from the wells. But hey, if you want to add that on later on, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed. I think it'd be a great way reference to yesteryear. Anyway, I think it's a great design, and I think Board Member Madrigal requested the first place refusal for the motion to approve. So have at it.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, please.
Can you close the public hearing?
Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to close public hearing. I thought we did that before. I guess we've officially closed public hearing. We've had debate and discussion amongst the board members, and I will entertain a motion from Board Member Madrigal.
So I will move that we accept the application given the 17 conditions as listed.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Great. Staff, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Certainly. So we have a motion to approve the project as with recommended conditions and seconded by Board Member Kapler. Board Member Saunders, what is your vote?
Aye.
Board Member Roth, what is your vote?
Aye.
Board Member Kapler
Aye.
and Board Member Madrigal.
Aye.
So the project is unanimously approved with the conditions as proposed. There is a 10-day period under which this decision can be appealed to the Board of Supervisors, at the end of which, if no appeal is filed, we'll issue the permit.
Great. Thank you, everyone. And
Thank
go ahead.
you. I just want to say thank you. And the staff did a great job of keeping an eye on us and reviewing everything and writing everything up. So thank you, Juliana, as well.
Oh, you're welcome.
So one question, whose job is it to tie up with the Kelly House to make sure we have somebody there and document?
So John and Julie will be happy to interface with Karen. And we also have that excellent historical report, which does talk about the history and the
That was interesting.
process. So we'll make sure that the applicant will make sure that all that information gets to the Kelly House.
Okay, so that's part of the minutes. Okay, great.
Thank you. Congratulations, carry on, and we'll look forward to watching this progress.
Thank you.
You bet.
Excuse
Which
me,
brings,
Chair.
yeah, go ahead.
I'm wondering if I could request a 2-minute break.
Yes, please. Fluid exchange. It is now 3:35. We'll break for 3 minutes to 3:38. How's that?
Okay.
Okay. Is Jim there? Do we need, is it Jim or James?
I think you can proceed.
Okay. So welcome back. Ready to reconvene here. Agenda item number 9B, regular calendar case MHRB 2021-0004 Huddleston. It's a Mendocino Historic Review Board request for a 600 square foot, a 6 square foot wooden sign with colors white, red, gray, and copy reading Lux Places International Realty, phone number 707-462-1600, livelux.luxplaces.com. Do we have any correspondence or telephone calls that have been received related to this item?
We received comments on this item and a previous sign permit from Kathleen Cameron. I read it earlier. Would you like me to read it again?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Unless you feel that it would be of benefit to everyone. Your call. You got more experience here than I do.
Well, the gist of it is she's just pointing out that signs traditionally include the business name in town. And I will say that I've attended meetings now with a review board for nearly 7 years. And when things like phone numbers or web addresses are included, there's definitely discussion between the review board members on that topic. And it helps the review board, I think, to talk about it because it isn't always approved on every sign, and to have that discussion if it is going to be approved is helpful.
Okay, thank you. And I would say that we did have an earlier application for a sign, in which case the sign was approved and the phone number on the sign was not approved. So it's precedent that is related to today, this hearing.
Right.
So wonderful. Okay. Can you do a presentation? And I'm sorry, Julianne Cherry, are you senior planner or just planner?
I'm a planner 3.
Planner 3. Okay. So Planner Cherry, can you please give us, there we go, Girl Scout, right? Anyway, can you please give us a presentation of this application, please?
It would be my pleasure. The reason this is not on the consent calendar to begin with is the sign that's proposed is similar to all the other signs on the Huddleston property. It is perpendicular to the building. Our code reads that signs perpendicular to the building have special consideration. And I have seen also over the years that when a sign is perpendicular, the review board discusses whether that particular orientation is suited to that site. Most of the sign code encourages signs to be in the same plane as the front of the building, not perpendicular to the facade. So that is why we included this as a regular calendar item. The sign as proposed would be made from wood. The sign would not block public views or lines of sight. The conditions that staff is recommending for this sign permit are really the standard sign permit conditions. Condition 6 talks about lighting. Condition sign set 5. Condition 5 is about when the business stops to operate at this location, then the sign permit is no longer valid. So this site, the Huddleston property here, covers quite a bit of the block. And so it also includes where Moody's Coffee House used to be. That part of the property used to be a garage. And so a portion of this property does have a historic resource, a Category 1 historic resource, but that's facing Lansing. This business is facing Albion Street, which is around the corner. The colors that are proposed are white, red, gray, and the copy would read Lux Places International Realty, have the phone number, I believe their logo, Live Lux, and then the web address. I will say that the property owner has been very responsive to staff as we've worked through the sign permits. When they first rented the suite, they put some signs up and those were not conforming, and just very generous in their response to staff, immediately addressing any concerns we had and getting the sign permit in. A pleasure to recommend approval of the application. Thank you.
Okay, quick question for staff. I've walked by there before and I'm looking at the photo that was part of our submission. Are we asking for forgiveness rather than approval? Meaning it's already there and it's hung, right?
They did take it down though. They took it down until they put it up. Code enforcement went out and talked with them. They took the sign down. I believe when I went and posted notices, I did not see the sign hanging in the window. I did talk a little bit with a business owner about the sign in the window. They seem very responsive to concerns about complying with their code. And when the sign does get approved, I imagine the approved sign will be hung in front of the business.
Thank you. Board Member Madrigal.
I clarify a couple of things. So when this was temporarily up or when it's envisioned to be hanging, that looks quite low. Is the open addition? It seems like, do you know what the approximate height is off the boardwalk?
I do not. I though am 6 feet tall and I have not bumped my head on any sign on this particular portion, but the applicant is on the line and maybe that's something to ask them. Or if you wanted, you could write a condition like an 8-foot minimum clearance under the sign.
Right. And then I just want to point out for discussion purposes that there is currently another perpendicular sign on this property.
There are several.
Yeah.
So especially on Albion Street, it's rather a characteristic of the businesses on this property facing Albion Street. There's a bakery. There's been a clothing store. There are like 3 businesses. I think there's also a jewelry store.
I was just going to note that because of the comment about historically wanting to be perpendicular, it does happen to be other signs.
Right, it is a characteristic of this particular portion of the block. It's just that our code asks for special consideration by the review board. So,
as far as perpendicular signs goes, to me, I like them. I think they're charming. I think they're part of the scene in Mendocino. And they're not just with regard to this building, but they exist throughout the town. I would venture to guess there are more perpendicular signs in Mendocino than other signs. So I don't think that is a problem as far as I'm concerned. I do have the same problem that I mentioned when we talked about the earlier sign. And I do not believe that it's appropriate to have the telephone number and the website address on the sign. So I would suggest we delete that from the proposed.
So, Member Kapler, just in terms of process and procedure, can we get our applicant, Susan Jones, to make her presentation, and then we can do the public hearing, and then we can bring it back to the board?
Sure.
Thank you, and I appreciate your comments. So do we have Susan Jones on the line?
Do you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. I don't know why I'm not on the camera, but that's okay. So yes, we didn't realize that telephone number and web address were not considered part of the historical aspect of the area, and we're very happy to comply and take those off. And in doing so, that would actually make the sign not as tall. I think it's 36 inches now, so we'll shrink it down a bit. But to answer your question about the clearance is 7 feet. as it is now, but it would be higher.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
So is that, Susan, is that Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Is that the end of your presentation?
Well, unless you have some questions.
Oh, we'll come back to you. Don't worry. Don't
Okay.
go anywhere.
Oh, I won't.
Okay. Do we have any members of the public wishing to make comment on this application? Planner Cherry or IT, Mr. Jim?
I don't have any telecomments. I think there was a comment posted to the web, though.
Right, we did read the comments that were posted on the web, and I have not either received any requests for telecomment.
Okay. So we're gonna close public comment and bring it back to the board. And I believe that Member Kapler was starting to express some concepts, thoughts, ideas.
Well, I was just saying that I don't think that telephone numbers or web addresses are appropriate on our signs, and I would propose that we delete those two items from the sign that has been proposed, and that's really the only comment that I have. If those two items are deleted, I don't have any problems with the sign, with the location, the fact that it's perpendicular, as I said. I think it's part of the charm of Mendocino to have perpendicular signs.
So the copy Lux Places International Realty Live Lux, that would be the copy that you would be comfortable with?
Yes.
Thank you. Board members Saunders and Madrigal?
So I'm with Home. I would say on the perpendicular signs, given the way I see the foot traffic going, I think it's for Albion Street to have perpendicular signs is probably a good idea. People look down there, they don't walk down there as much. So I'm with him on that. I think that's a fit, not appropriate. And I agree on the phone numbers and website as I did before. So I think I'm where Home is.
Thank you. Board member Madrigal.
I have no additional comments.
Thank you. I like to say that sometimes it's more important to be consistent than it is to be correct. And I would agree. I would agree that the perpendicular signs are to make them be on the facade instead of perpendicular would be kind of odd. So I have no problem. I'm hearing my board members talk about phone numbers and websites. I totally get it. So I'd be happy to support this as amended. So maybe board member Kapler, if you want to do a motion to clarify exactly what you would approve.
Sure. Motion to approve MHRB request 2021-004 as proposed, minus the telephone number and the website address, and subject to the conditions that are set out in the staff report.
Do we hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And Planner Cherry, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, thank you. So we have a motion by Kapler and seconded by Saunders to approve the project with a modification to not including the telephone number and the web address on the sign, and to approve the conditions as recommended by staff. So for a voice vote, please. Board member Madrigal?
Yes.
Board member Roth?
Aye.
Board member Saunders?
Aye.
And board member Kapler?
Aye.
So unanimously approved. Thank you. This is subject to a 10-day appeal period to the Board of Supervisors. At the conclusion of the appeal period, if no appeals are filed, we will issue the MHRB permit and the sign can be constructed and installed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good luck. We look forward to seeing that.
Thank you. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, agenda number 10A, biannual nominations for Historic Preservation Award. We have, I believe, one application from a previous board member, Deidre. Is that the one application we have?
Yes.
Would you like to present that with us, for us?
Well, I'm wondering if any of the review board members had a nomination that they wanted to make as well.
I wasn't aware of the calendar, so no at this point for this nomination.
So with that in mind, and I was not aware of it until I saw this come through the packet. Is there any chance we can push this down the road, kick the can down to next meeting?
Right. Yeah. If I may.
Go ahead.
You could certainly, one of the motions to consider is you could make a motion to accept the nominations today and vote next month. Or you could make a motion to encourage nominations and consider it next month. It comes around once every 2 years, and we try to coincide with Historic Preservation Month, but certainly in past years, we've even presented in September the award. So perhaps today could be just talking about the nomination process and then also giving some direction to staff on how you'd like to present the award when the review board makes a decision on that.
That'd be great. So yes, this is every 2 years. The last one we did, I remember we had, I believe it was given to the substation,
The
sheriff's office
Yeah.
by the Ford House. And there was also a residence that was brought up. There were a couple other structures, and there's also PG&E that was brought up for the lamp post in town. So I think what I'd like to do is make it known on our YouTube channel that this is the form, the paper form. It is online, right?
It is. It is posted on the meeting webpage under the agenda items for today's meeting. And if you decide to continue it to May, we can also put it on the website for the May meeting.
I think that'd be great. And I think what we want to do is we want to entice the public to find a historic remodel or historic preservation that was done that comes to the surface. So tell me, Planetary, what's the golden torch when we nominate a building or an award? What comes with that? I remember there's a plaque. Help me out.
Over the years, it's been different things: a certificate or a plaque, an acknowledgement from the review board to the candidate that was selected by the review board. If you are thinking about continuing the matter to next month, I would like to point out that on the meeting agenda webpage are all the projects that have gone to the review board over the years. So there's an opportunity there to look over past projects and maybe see something that you weren't familiar with from a couple of years ago.
So if we stretch this out to September in prior years, not that I want to do that, but would the board members be interested in maybe pushing it out? Submissions, I don't know, do we want to push out 1 month or 2 months? What are your feelings?
I think 1 month is fine for submission.
1 month? Home?
I think it would be sufficient just to see what other nominations come in for the next meeting.
Okay. So do I have the power as chair to continue this item, or do I need a motion?
Well, it's not a public hearing item, so it's really, you could make a decision and you could mention whether the review board member supports you in continuing it, or you could ask for a motion.
I'll be formal. Let's ask for a motion or thumbs up, whatever works. It sounds like I got board member Matt. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Make an executive decision.
Okay. Seeing the approval for the minutes of all the other board members, let's continue application submissions for the biannual nomination for Historic Preservation Award. We will encourage everyone to review all of the applications that we've had. and to nominate their very favorite, so we can review those for next meeting and award someone for this very prestigious award.
All right. If I may, for a moment through the chair, I just would like to, I think, share screen so I can show you and the people watching on here. I think here you can see the review board meeting agenda. Can you see that?
It was there, but then it went away.
Oh, okay. I'll put it back. I thought it was on the other. I have two screens. There we go.
Yeah, I think.
So here's the Mendocino Historical Review Board meeting agenda, and for April. And right here is the link to the Preservation Award nomination form under public comment. And then you can see past meeting agendas and projects that have been presented in 2020 and 2019 are on this same page for the Mendocino Historical Review Board meeting agendas.
So we have a couple of projects to choose from.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
And even one year, the award was granted to someone who did not obtain an MHRB permit because all of the work they did was exempt. And the person who had nominated them noted that doing the work as an exemption is in fact a form of preservation. What they did is really restore existing aspects of the building.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for that.
Sure.
So, yes, Madrigal.
I do also just want to thank the Ms. Lamb for nominating someone. I didn't even see the date on there until I was going back through the packet, which I think the due date was like April 2nd or something like that. So yeah. When you look at the form online, just ignore that date since we're continuing it. But
or is there a way can we take that form and modify it and change the date?
I'll try and do that for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So yeah, so Deidre Lamb, thank you for your submission. And we look forward to having a couple of other applicants so we can actually have a wonderful debated discussion about that. It's a huge award, right?
Terrific.
There we go. Any other thoughts from board members or staff? Okay. We're taking now to agenda item number 11A, matters from staff. And this is going to be a presentation by one of our other staff members about an upcoming application. So this is CDP application, is it 2020-0032 by Jordan? And it's referred to the board by staff to obtain our comments. It requests administrative coastal development permit to construct a 600 square foot guest cottage at 44461 Little Lake Road and located in historical zone B, which is east of State Route 1. Have we had any correspondence about this? This goes to planner chair. Go ahead.
The chair.
Yes.
Jessie Waldman, planner. Thank you, board members. My name is Jessie Waldman. I am a coworker with Planner Cherry with Mendocino County Planning and Building Services. And I am working on this coastal development permit to construct a guest cottage located in Zone B. And the proposed development will not be visible from Zone A. Part of the coastal development review process, and I'm going to pause here and ask Planner Cherry to interrupt me if I go too detailed or if I'm missing information. She has a lot more experience in this than I do. When an applicant applies for a coastal development permit, we look for response from other agencies that may have comment, where this is Zone B inside of Division 3, Mendocino Town. And if you have any questions about the referral packet for the guest cottage that's being proposed in the rear yard that will not be visible from Little Lake Street nor from Zone A, I would be glad to answer your questions. It's just part of the county staff or county review process for planning staff for the planning division to refer out for comments if you have any. A great example would be if this project was visible from Zone A, we would be presenting this as a matter of staff, but then we would also be trying to coordinate the actual MHRB request, where this one is exempt from approval of MHRB review under section 20.760.035, where it's not visible from Zone A. I hope that makes sense, and I look forward to working with all of you soon in the future. And if you have any questions, I'm available.
Thank you so much. Planner Chair, do you have anything to add to that, or?
Range of comments for the review board in this particular instance does not need to be limited to design comments. Typically, you are looking at how structures harmonize within the historic district, but staff would welcome comments even on the land use and the activity of what the applicant is proposing, which is a guest cottage off Little Lake.
So that being said, Planner Waldman, Jesse, would you like to take us through? I know that I found the drawings on the website. Would you like to just walk us through the proposed design?
I can do that. I am not sure if I have rights to share screen, and I'm gonna quickly shut everything down. So I only have 2 things open on my screen. Hold on just a moment.
Waldman.
I don't know which screen I'm gonna grab.
Planner Waldman, you do have rights to share.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
Make sure you take down those cat videos, okay?
Right. Okay. I apologize for the pause. I do.
No worries. No worries.
Don't worry about it.
Okay. I'm going to make this big. I think, oh my gosh, the pressure is on. Watching
You're good.
This afternoon has been great. Share screen. And I would like to, so I just opened up okay, I gotta hit share. Can you guys see this?
Yep. We got a parcel size 0.4 acres.
Okay, we'll make this a little bigger. So this should be the referral packet that you received. It's about 26 pages. The first page is, maybe your packet is pink. Do you not see this, Kepler?
We can see your screen. You're good.
Okay, I'll keep going. So as stated, it is the administrative coastal development permit to construct a 600 square foot guest cottage, which is consistent with the maximum. Hold on just a moment. We have a train.
You can't even hear it.
Historical part of Fort Bragg.
Can't even hear it.
Okay.
So I think what would be helpful would be bring us to the, I'm looking on my computer over here. We've got a site plan. I can't tell what page it is, but it's just past the, one of the graphics that has Little Lake Road. There we go. Yep, right there. Can we start with that?
Sure.
Where exactly is it is my question.
I will answer that question in a moment.
I didn't see
the page,
by the way.
Page just prior to that would work out well to tell you where the location is.
All right, so in relation to the stoplight, to answer about location.
There you go, right there.
If you see this purple dash purple and white line, that is the intersection of Highway 1 and Little Lake Road. You would head east on Little Lake Road past the fire department, go up the hill. Starts to open up on the north. There's a little bit, maybe I'll go up one more map. One more map. So you're in the middle of the second hill, in between the fire station and the elementary school, if that makes sense. And it's on the south side of Little Lake Road. It is just slightly east of an older historical home, opposite side on the north side of Little Lake Street. I'm not sure of the name of that historical home that is on the north side.
So it's between Blair Street and Wheeler Street, which is just north of Hills Road, or just east of Hills Road.
Mm-hmm. So when you go up Little Lake Road, you're still on the incline before it plateaus out to Wheeler. Does that answer location questions?
Yeah, I live just on the corner hills in Little Lake, so I have a personal interest there too. So I should declare that, I guess.
Okay, we will keep that in mind because we might have to refer back to that. But I'm not sure, we might have to talk about personal interest, but I don't know. We'll learn more together. So you can, as you can see, this black square is the subject parcel. You can see that there is some development on the parcel. I'm going to switch to the site plan. And there is currently a driveway that comes off of Little Lake Road, and it goes in between the existing garage and single family residence. And this driveway continues to the rear of the parcel. Excuse me, it's on the east side of the residence. There's a pathway in between the garage and the residence. And the proposed guest cottage is in the rear of the parcel. It is going to, if this coastal development permit is granted, it would be a new structure, and it would not be visible from zone A, excuse me. I'm going to step out. I did not have the pictures rotated before this presentation, so I'm quick to do it. Here is the desired floor plan of this guest cottage. Has a living room and a bedroom, living room / library with a small bathroom and a walk-in closet. And it does have some decking on the southwest and northeast corners of the parcel. It is an interesting shaped, it's not a chevron shaped building, but I want to just point out it's an L-shaped or chevron-shaped structure. I will go to the elevations now. You guys are giving me good practice for when I present to the CPA. So here are all 4 elevations of the structure. The south here will have decking that goes around the southeast corner of the structure. This is the north side of the structure. There will be a slight, there will be a covered entryway porch at this corner. There will be decking allowed on the south elevation. There is going to be decking that's over part of the there's going to be a second level decking on top of the main level decking. I don't know if you can see this little human representation. And these elevations do not indicate heights of everything. I will have to take a ruler out and measure that.
Can I ask briefly if the, is it visible from the street? It seems like it's far back enough on the lot that it wouldn't actually be visible from Little Lake.
So there may be portions of this structure that are visible from Little Lake Road. However, none of this development will be visible from Mendocino Town Zone A. I'm going to say that I'm not fully prepared to say that it is not visible 100%. There is proposed fencing as part of this project that would that may create more of a screening between Little Lake Road and this structure. And then also, I will be honest and say that I have not completed the colors schematics, but that will be part of our planning determination under visual resources to make sure that the colors and the design of the materials are consistent with the surrounding neighborhoods. Now, when I look at these elevations and I think of the gabled roof, and I'm going to be doing a site visit to look at the existing structures around this area and on the site. That's where we're going to be looking at our visual resources for the for Division 3 Zone B criteria. And this request for your input and comment is rather early in my review process.
I assume there's no new well. They're running off the existing well.
This request specifically does have water resources provided through Mendocino City Community Services District. And let's see if that was a part of your report. Let me see very quickly. I see that it was not. It is my understanding that this will be working off of the existing services district. I'm going to verify that.
There is a well on the property that this cottage will share with existing residents, I guess was my question. They're not talking about an additional well at this point, I would assume.
If I
That
may,
is correct.
That is correct.
Yeah. If I may, on the referral packet, there's a questionnaire, and question number 15 is what will be the domestic water source? And the applicant has indicated well water will be the domestic water source. Probably the community service district connection is for a sewer connection. The community service district also grants groundwater extraction. And so if they need additional water to be able to do this addition, the guest cottage, MCCSD would indicate that through the referral process to staff. And then staff will let the applicant know what the comments are from MCCSD regarding groundwater extraction, and if that permit that they have for the existing house needs to be expanded upon, or if the existing water is sufficient for the proposed development.
Yeah.
So Planner Chair, while we have you here, I got your attention. Can you help us out with what our role is with regard to this specific application?
Right. So when we receive coastal development permits, we do contact agencies and ask for their comment. Those comments become incorporated into the staff report and become part of staff's recommendation. So your role today is to provide comments. You can comment on the land use as well as the design, so that when Jesse is preparing a staff report for the approving body to approve the project, they know what the comments are from the review board. Your comments can be about the design of the structure, that it is a detached bedroom. Maybe you have an opinion on detached bedrooms in the historic district. Your comments really can be anything. And it doesn't require a motion. Really, Jesse is looking for you to provide her with your direction, and it can be individually given, or you can decide as a group to give her comments from the review board as a whole.
Great. Board Member Madrigal, before we go to you, Kleiner Waldman, Jesse, was there anything else you want to add, or should we open up for comments to get back to you?
Go ahead and open it for comments and get back. I will be here to answer anything again.
Great. Board Member Madrigal, shoot.
Two things. So it seems in some ways that we would have a similar commenting rights as a member of the public. If the member of the public wanted to comment on this permit, they would also be able to do so, correct, on the colors and things?
That is correct. I believe that we did not have any public comments that were registered that we can open up, but right. I'm sure there'll be plenty other permitting process hearings where other members of the public can present, and also emails without having to speak. They can just send their comments into Planning and Building Services.
Yeah, and I do want to also just mention that I did just receive a notice from the district saying that because of the water emergency, they're not, I believe there's a moratorium on additional wells. So it's probably something to make sure the applicants are aware of because
Absolutely.
of the water emergency. Yeah.
So Holly, any additional comments about the proposed development? Okay.
I just have a question. Was any of this material provided to us beforehand? Because I don't remember seeing any of this before.
I didn't get a copy of it myself. I was looking through the agenda and I saw the link on the agenda, which
okay.
the link brings you to the full cadre of drawings that Jesse walked us through.
Okay, so I should have paid more attention there. Okay. Yeah, you know, you're really sharp. All right. No, I don't have any comments.
And realize that as a member of the public or a member of the board, this is not your only opportunity to weigh in. You can always email or do what you need to get your comments in.
If I may address, when we do assemble packets for the review board, the referral packets sometimes can be quite large. It's really our intention to include a copy of the referral packet and have it go to each review board member. But sometimes they're really large, so you do need to look for them online. And then sometimes the way the referral packets go out is it definitely goes to the staff member, me, for me to ask for your comments during the meeting. So perhaps we need to talk a little bit more with the staff that does the assembly of the MHRB meeting packets that get sent to the review board members so that when there is a referral packet, you do get a full copy. They're 8.5 by 11 sheets, so larger architectural drawings will be reduced to that 8.5 by 11 size. Frequently looking at reduced drawings online, it's a little bit more friendly than the 8.5 by 11, but we'll work on that for you.
Yeah, I'd be happy if there was a big red capitalized thing on the agenda that said, please look at this link.
Okay, all right. Noted.
Sure.
Yes.
So my only comment is I as somebody, again, personal interest, who lives down the road, who nearly ran out of water last year, I'm a little perturbed to see another water user come into the area, even if it does fit inside their existing groundwater permit, it means they're going to be using more water. So that is definitely a concern. And as a member of the public, I'll probably express that.
So Board Member Saunders, as a member of the public, I share your concerns. In the month of November of last year, I had to call the water tender truck 5 times. And I'm assuming I'll be doing the same thing this year. But as MHRB, water use is not in our purview, but as a public individual, someone who is a neighbor, then absolutely, please register your thoughts and comments. And as for me, I think the building is in harmony with the existing designs. It looks fine by me. For design review board, it's, you know, I don't think, well, I know that the A section of our historic review is never going to see it, and I'd be surprised if anyone, even on Low Lake Road, will see the addition. So as a member of MHRB, I'll stop my comments at that point. And those are, Jesse, thank you so much for bringing this forward. You did a great job. Yes, please. You have to unmute yourself, though.
If I may, through the chair, board members, for your public opinions, I would just like to clarify that this comments request right now is just to the board. A public comment package will go out at the time that when this project is presented at the Coastal Permit Administrator hearing, which has not been set yet. So if you would like to put in public comments from public perspective, you could send an email or a letter to my attention regards to the comments that you have, and it will be posted and you will be added as a public comment opportunity when the 10-day public notice comes out for the CPA, the Coastal Permit Administrator hearing. So for the record, what I'm hearing from the board, from MHRB board members at this moment is that there's no real comments regarding this project from the board, but there are comments that the public would like to add, and that would be wanting to come at a different time. And so I would just like to bring that up now, is that feel free to email myself or to send a letter to our Planning and Building Services office, and I will see that your public comment is added.
Great, thank you so much. And would that go to waldmanj@mendocinocounty.org?
Who it is on the record, yes.
There we go. Great, thank you for your time. Any other questions from our board members? Great, well, thank you for a lively meeting. This is great. That brings us to agenda item number 12, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting until May? Oh, board member Madrigal, please.
I'm sorry, and I know this has been a full meeting, but is there board member reports, or does that usually happen? You know?
No, there should be. I don't know where it is on the agenda, but please go ahead.
I just want to voice my concern that I find the public communications really challenging. I don't think that's in any way the fault of, the county, but I do think that I have heard from members of the public that it's I think the level of engagement that we're wanting as a historical review board is challenging when you have to, submit something by 10 o'clock in the morning prior to it. I just want to voice my concerns that it does not seem ideal. And I don't know what the answer is. I know this is a Zoom format, and I know that other county meetings use a similar format of Zoom on YouTube, but I don't know. I just feel like Zoom does have capabilities of having like a webinar set up where you can still receive comments. I don't know. I'm trying to think of other ways in this window before we can meet in public, which I understand is hopefully the goal. That I'm trying to think of other ways that we could get input.
So I'm going to hand this off to Planner Cherry, who can talk to this. We've spent some time talking about it, and there's issues around internet bandwidth and the rest of it. But yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, that was behind my comment earlier, because I had a comment from somebody like I said, how does this get to the newspaper? How does this get to the public? So I certainly had a comment about it not being, the agenda not being visible enough to people. And again, back to my earlier comment about apparently it was in the beacon at one point. So I think it's not just a technological, can't say it, problem. I think there's a problem with communicating to at least one member of the public to talk to me about what is actually happening on the agenda. And I know it goes in the library and everywhere else, but that was certainly presented to me as a potential issue.
Planner Cherry?
Sure. So I think there are two topics here. One is regarding notice of the meeting, and the other one is about participation during the meeting. So notice of the meeting, we are doing the same things that we've always have been doing, which is above and beyond what the code requires. We do send notices to adjoining property owners. We post notices in various locations throughout town. We make the packet available at the library and the community center. Unfortunately, the community center is closed during COVID, and we do post it online. So there is a great deal of effort put out to engage the public in awareness about an upcoming meeting and the topics that are on the agenda. When we started doing Zoom a year ago, what we did is we would pause for 3 minutes during public expression to allow people to send in an email to pbscommissions.com. I think one of the things that we could easily do in working through our agenda for the meeting is to re-engage that 3-minute pause to allow people to email in. They could either email in, I'd like to speak on this matter, and we can respond by sending them a meeting invite so that they can telephone in, or they could just write their comments in the email and send them in. And when they did arrive last year, when we took that 3-minute pause and those written comments came in, they were immediately posted on the website. They were also shared immediately with the review board members by email. And we also, I believe, read them aloud. So that is one thing that I think we could be doing again to capture public participation during the meeting. The meeting is, we have the meeting using the Zoom software. But the public watch the meeting. It's almost virtually simulcast on YouTube. There's a little bit of a lag on YouTube. So if people are watching on YouTube and they hear that we're doing the 3-minute pause to capture public hearing, that's an opportunity for them to engage and send that email to pbscommissions.com. I kind of wish the email address didn't have 3 letters that sounded exactly the same. PBS, but it is what we use, and we do provide a link through our webpage to the email address. We put the email address on all of the agendas, we put them on the public notices, and that sort of thing. There is a little bit of technology and group effort to do these Zoom US meetings. We have at least 2 or 3 county staff that we wouldn't normally have attending the meeting, so that we can provide this technology via YouTube, and so that we can connect all of us together. We don't have as many staff perhaps as other boards might have, say like the Board of Supervisors. And the Board of Supervisors have chosen to give out the call-in number during the meeting. I don't know that we have a sufficient amount of staffing to accommodate giving out the call-in number during the meeting. I've been talking with our staff, our support staff, I'll say our audio-visual support staff, to see if it is possible. And I've asked them to give me some ideas of what would work for them, so that we could maybe do additional things during the May meeting. But we did not have time to come up with a plan and a strategy for this April meeting. I think that 3-minute pause, though, might be a good thing to return to.
Yeah, I mean, certainly that would be an improvement if people could email like at that moment, because they may hear somewhere at the grocery store that we're talking and, may tune in, and they will have missed the opportunity to send it in at 10 in the morning. So that would be an improvement.
Home?
Juliana, do you send the agenda notice of the meeting to the Mendocino Beacon?
The newspapers are notified of the upcoming meeting. And what the newspapers have offered to do voluntarily is to post that agenda in the newspaper. It's not a requirement that they do that, and we don't ask them to do that. What in fact has happened is they've generously offered to do that.
Have they done that recently? Because I don't remember seeing that. What I remember is in past years, there was a lot of publicity and a lot of reporting on this board in the Beacon especially. And lately there's been almost nothing.
I have seen a change in staffing with the newspaper. I think they still have the same editor who has made that effort.
Right.
But maybe because of staffing, she's making some editorial decisions on her part. I believe there is a Kelsey who does cover these meetings. I have seen some articles in the newspaper about the meetings, even though they're broadcast on YouTube rather than attended in person.
Yeah.
I would also mention that previous to me joining the board, I did see the agenda posted at like the job site of a couple properties. Like this is going to come up on the historical review board, like physically where it was. Yeah. So I know that happens.
No, that's required.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
So-
I literally go around to every project that's on the agenda and post a notice at that agenda project site. I post next to Corners of the Mouth. I post just down the street from Moody's. And then I drop off some packet information at the community center and the library.
So in response to my public person's question, the answer, if I understand it, Juliana, if I could just play it back to you for a minute, is we do notify the newspaper, and it's really up to the newspaper whether they decide to include it or not. We cannot, it's not a legal requirement that we force them to do that, if you want to put it in a blunt way.
Right.
That's correct.
That is right. And if we did, the other option would be that the county pays to have the agenda posted in the newspaper, and rather we pay to have the agenda items legal notice published in the newspaper.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. That's a good answer. I can go back with. Thank you.
Sure.
So Juliana, let's put on our docket. You and I can talk in the next week or so and hit some of these points also about what our calendaring schedule is to go back to the community center and what might have to happen in that room to make that all work. Could we spend a little bit of time doing that?
Yeah, so there, one of the things, if I may, one of the things we did talk about was using some of this technology when the public health order ceases and we begin resuming having public meetings in person. So the community center, the room that we meet in the community center does not have video technology set up. And the meetings also occur in the evening, which is at a time when county staff typically is at home. So we would be shifting back to a 7 p.m. meeting and shifting to a location that doesn't have video equipment set up. For the county to set up for a meeting and have it be videotaped and broadcast on YouTube even at a later date, we would need to provide that same AV staff support that we provide right now. The difference is right now it's during regular business hours, so the staffing is available to us.
So I was going to say, maybe you and I can talk offline and we can bring up a couple of talking points, discussion points that we can bring back to the board for the next meeting.
Okay.
I just have a quick question on this before we leave it, which is that and this might be controversial, but is there a reason why we would need to go back to 7? Like why we couldn't just keep this time period?
Well, let me bring that forward to the board at the next meeting, and we'll have options that we can discuss. And I'd like to talk to staff and find out what works, what doesn't work, why this can't, what the ups and downs are, so that rather than having it hashed out here, I can talk with staff and we can make a presentation, and then we can sort of ask our request after deliberation on those different pieces of it.
This is an excellent time to be proactively talking about this, and the next meeting I'll add it to the agenda after talking with the chair. I don't know that the public health order is going to be pulled off anytime soon. So it's a good time to be talking about how we want to have meetings after the public health order ceases.
Going forward when things are back to normal.
Normal is a town in Texas, I was told.
Yes, it is. And it's a statement of consciousness too. Anyway, are we good?
We're good.
Okay. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor, raise your hand. Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Have a great month. Julianne, I'll be talking to you. You guys stay safe, and we'll see you guys beginning of May.